oh my God, there's a hurricane in the Philippines. Don't go. It's super dangerous. Oh my God. No, don't. There's no electricity. Oh no, fuck. You're gonna die. Oh, it's gonna come down. The sky's gonna fall. Oh my God. And then before the Cambodia summit, oh, there's the tsunami. If you go back and read the news, there was a tsunami coming. I was literally taking a taxi to the airport to go to the Cambodia summit, right? And I was listening to the news, right? And the news was because there was a predicted tsunami. I woke up on the day of the fucking trip. Like I came like on a Thursday. It was right before this summit. And I was like, and like literally the news is like tsunami's gonna hit Phnom Penh. It's gonna be fucking underwater. And like, everyone's talking about the Thailand tsunami and the Indonesian tsunami and the Japanese tsunami. And now we got the Cambodian tsunami. And I was like, me, like I was kind of like, okay, I'm going no matter what. That's my attitude no matter what. Like when I travel, I just go, okay. Do you guys want to know my attitude? I read the news, I get informed, but I go anyway. That's basically like, I'm like a one-way fucking rocket. Like I'm going, the rocket's on its way. There's no way to call it back, right? That's basically the way I travel, okay? And there was a reason for that. I'm gonna talk about that. So, okay, so then, as we got closer to the airport, I texted Drinkin' Dave, who lives there. And he said, the tsunami's expected to be 1 to 4 inches tall. And I was like, no way. He's like, yeah. I think it already hit. And I was like, good to have friends that are there. And friends that are cool, right? Friends that have wisdom. Friends that don't exaggerate, right? Let me give you another example. So I went to China during the uprising of the students that culminated in the huge massacre at Tiananmen Square. I was going to China during that. And it wasn't just in Tiananmen Square. It was all over China. There was a big demonstration in Chengdu. All the same things happened. It was huge all over China. A lot of the big cities. Chengdu was a big one, but I heard it was Xi'an and everywhere. This is like real information here. It was all over China, all the big cities. And not only that, it was so big that government workers had joined it, right? Bus drivers, like government employees. It was huge. The whole place was essentially like an absolutely boiling pot, a boiling kettle. And I'm on my way to go there. I don't, I already knew at that age, and I already knew, this is in 89, June of 89, I already knew that, life is funny, guys. You kind of got a choice in life, right? Here's the thing. I understand that there's real things that can happen and you have to listen, right? You do have to listen, but again, you got to check with the wise people, the people that you know and trust. That's one of the things once you travel, you'll start to have those people that you can ask, and they'll just give you the lowdown, and it'll calm you down, and you'll realize, oh, okay, I'm getting bad information. And again, it's not always on purpose. I'm not going down that road. I'm just saying you need good information. Okay, that's the main thing. Everybody focuses on bad information. No, you need good information. That's what you need to focus on. Find that one person that you can trust, that can give you a lowdown and give you a perspective, a realistic perspective that will both keep you safe and also allow you to be free, right? Not living in fear, right? That's the key thing. It's like a balance, right? It's a balance. So basically now we had there's been a big couple of typhoons have come through the Philippines, and the summit's coming up, right? So I was like, I got a notice that there was one of the guys sent me a message and said, I heard that there's electricity out in some parts of Cebu, and blah 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 blah. And I want to calm this down. I really want to calm this down, and also I want to give you a clear perspective on travel and life. This is fucking real shit here, this one. And it's very important, I think. I believe, personally, this is my perspective. If you don't know this, you will run scared and you will regret. And you'll be embarrassed of yourself if you don't understand what I'm talking about in this one. You will be. Because you'll be like, God damn it. Oh yeah, I thought of another one. Oh, COVID hit just as the La Jolla Summit started. Go back and check the dates. It was literally the first lockdown of COVID. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. I was on the way to San Diego. I swear to God, I was taking the Amtrak because I wanted to take the pretty way to San Diego. So I was taking that. I was going down and I was hearing the news. They're like, this has been shut down. That's been shut down. And I didn't even know what shutdown meant. None of us did, right? And then I got there and I thought, well, no one's going to come to the fucking summit. Guess what? Everybody came. Huge summit. Great summit. And we left the summit the first night to go get food. And we were walking down the street. And I remember it was like a movie, man. It was so weird. We were walking down the main street in La Jolla and nobody was there. And then we got to the supermarket. Nobody would get near us because none of us were watching the news, right? So we didn't really know. We were like having a good time. We didn't notice. And then it was like nobody wanted to stand near us. We were laughing, but we were the only ones laughing. Like I felt like, have you ever seen those old Christian movies about the rapture? There was these old, really scary movies actually about the rapture. Is that some people will be taken up to heaven and be gone, and you'll be left. And it felt like that was like the weirdest feeling, man. I'm sure you had your own experiences, but in San Diego, this was really strong for me. I was like, had a big impact. And we were walking down the street, like it was so eerie. All the streets were closed, all the shops were closed. And then we got to the house. We had a great time, by the way. We fucking had a great time in the middle of the lockdown. And I had a great time the whole time during COVID, by the way. I did the Ronin tour. I broke all the rules, and I had a great time. And some guys didn't come, I'm sure. I'm sure there was like one or two guys, I can't remember, that didn't come to the summit because, you're going to die of COVID. That was the thing at the time. And you could say you don't believe it or, you didn't get back. Trust me. Think, if you're honest with yourself, there was a lot of fear going on. And it didn't really matter what you logically thought. Fear was going down. Fear is not logical, right? And people were scared. People didn't come to the summit, I'm sure. And they're like, no, I can't take a chance. I got family or whatever reason, And I just laugh because I know there's always going to be people dropping out. There always will be in your life that they will take a different, they'll have a different take on the news than you. And they'll believe it more than you. They'll be like, it's not really the news. No, it's just like, it's like a mind virus or something, right? It's not really the news. It's like a mind virus around you, your parents. So anyway, summit was great. And I remember, I'll tell you another eerie thing. We were all in the backyard. It was a sunny day. We were right on the beach. We just had a perfect place for the summit. It was insane. It was right near the water where the dolphins are and everything. All the seals on the beach. I forgot the name of the neighborhood, but it's right there in the middle of La Jolla. Like right fucking downtown. Absolutely perfect location. And I didn't know before I got there. I was like, oh my God, this is like perfect, right? And we were in the backyard, right? We were all in the backyard in the afternoon, the second day. And literally this happened. A helicopter flew above us because they were trying to lock everybody down. It was like the Gestapo, man, in La Jolla. I know every place was a little different, but I'm telling you, in La Jolla, it was like serious. And it's rich. La Jolla is like super wealthy. So they had a fucking helicopter and they were flying around looking for whatever they were looking for. And it wasn't a weather helicopter. It wasn't a military helicopter. This was some special flight for COVID. Okay, period. And they flew and they saw, we had like 25 guys in the backyard laying on the grass, and tents in the backyard and everything. And you weren't supposed to have groups of people, but that was in public. At the time, there was no rule about in your house, right? So, the hotels had to follow, restaurants, but not your house. That was not on the table yet. They didn't expect, the Ronin crew coming in, right? And just having like a ton of guys in the backyard. And we were all sitting there. And the helicopters, like, they were close. Helicopters are not like airplanes. They can come right down. And they just came down and looked at us. And I saw the guy's eyes. He's leaning out. I could tell, he was like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, what are they doing? And I mean, it's a fair question, right? Like, why? Like, La Jolla, nobody camps. Like, there's no camping. And they were like, literally, like, who the fuck? What the fuck? And we were looking at him, and I just like smiled and waved. And then you could see the guy was kind of like, sketchy, could call the cops, but don't really know what to do here. The Matrix hasn't programmed me on this one. And then they just flew up and flew away. And that was it. And I'll tell you another one was this is true. It's happened at many summits. Dude, we've done a lot of summits, and there's been this challenge at many of them. And the New York one was really intense. The New York summit, so we were going to the summit. We were driving on the tour. I was with Time, and Ray was driving, Stingray, and we were going to go to New York. Summit was going to start in a few days. And just as we got there, and Ray and Time can definitely verify all this stuff, there was this huge announcement in New York. And if you live in New York, you might remember this, you might not, because if you weren't going to New York at the time, you probably don't remember, but you might though. This is a pretty big announcement. So New York said, no more people from outside can go to New York. Okay, New York is closed. And we're going to put up police barricades. And for each person that is not from New York, is not a resident, who comes to New York, you will be fined $10,000 each. $10,000. And me, Ray, and Chime, we're going to the summit. We're going to New York, and the summit started the next day. Okay, it was like 2 days or 1 day. And so Chime said, look, they're going to block, this bridge, that bridge, this road. He goes, but I know I know the roads. He's from Brooklyn, right? He's like, I know all the roads. We'll take the quiet one. There's no way this one's going to be blocked. No fucking way. And so we came into town. I remember we even made it so that we came in the middle of the night. So we came in like 2 a.m. or something, and we cruised in. And I was like in the back seat down low because, I had to get to the summit. I mean, even if there was a police barricade, like I got to get through somehow, right? I think I even had some clothes on top of me or something. And Ray's driving, and Time is there. He's a resident, And, Ray was just going to say, I'm dropping him off or something. We had some kind of plan. Anyway, and then sure enough, there was no roadblocks. We parked the car, got in Ray's, Time's house, and then the guys started coming to the summit. And then I got messages from 2 guys, and they were both like really embarrassed. They're like, I know this is not the Ronin way kind of thing. They're like, I know you would never do this, but I just can't take the risk. I can't afford the $10,000. I just can't do it. I can't go to New York right now. It's like the worst timing. The announcement was literally right before the summit. Not like this Philippine thing. Like the Philippine thing is like a week or 2, right? 2 weeks ahead, right? More than 2 weeks. No, this was like right the night of the summit. Like the summit was starting, right? And it was the day of the new, from today, $10,000 fine per guy. We drove in, 2 guys texted, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 I can't do it. And, the guys came that came. It was a very interesting summit for you guys that were there early. I don't know if you remember, but there was a guy who was a gangbanger. And he was it was very interesting, that guy. He was the real deal. A real gangbanger listens to this channel, like a real fucking New York gangbanger. And he said, I can't be seen going to this. I can't be seen with you guys. And then he met us like At first I thought he was deluded, but then when I met him in person, I realized, oh, this guy's the real deal for sure. And then we met, we had like a dinner on a Thursday. And then finally he got me aside. He said, Ronin, like basically I cannot be seen with you guys because they're going to think I'm talking to the cops or they're going to think something. I think his gang was like near where we were. And he's like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And then we had dinner together. We talked and he left, but he backed out. But that one I could totally understand. And I was glad he came. And if you're there, I honestly can't remember your name and I wouldn't say it if I could remember. But, I appreciated that. Appreciated meeting you. And I appreciated that you wanted to go. I could tell you wanted to go. If we would have had like a location outside of New York, I'm sure it would have been fine. But in Brooklyn, like, no way. You're very visible and I totally understand. So there are challenges in life, to go in places. It's very easy to do nothing, okay? It is very easy. Let me break down the Philippines one, okay? Why I think this summit's going to be fucking awesome. Okay, that's number one. And why do I think that? Let me explain. I'm not saying that it's not, there's a reason, okay? The reason is how life can get very mundane. Like you got a pattern in life. You got you go to Starbucks, everything's the same, right? Nobody really talks to you. You're almost like if you watch your life today as you walk around, you live in somewhat of a zombie apocalypse. Like nobody really talks to anybody. Nobody really expresses any real emotions. Nobody ever says anything real. There's nothing happening. Everybody's kind of on robot mode or automatic mode, right? One of the advantages of being in a disaster or something that's very good, like a baby being born, anything that is out of the ordinary. There's certain things in life that snap people out of things. And it's usually something bad, okay, like an earthquake, tsunami, typhoon, these type of things, right? But it could be, something like in a family. It could be like, obviously, like a death in the family. Even if it's an older person that's 110 and they live their life, still, it's a huge change, right? Well, that's often the time in life when people, for once, are not, maybe because there's no program to live by in those situations, that people try, they Google things and what to say and everything, but at the end of the day, they don't know what to do. And that's when humans let out their real side. Okay, they do. They let out their real side. And that's when you want to go. Basically, that's when you want to go somewhere, is right after a huge disaster. Seriously, that is when you want to go. And why do you want to go? People are real. People will talk to you. People are snapped out of their regular thing. Now, when you go to a place that had a disaster just recently, or even is in the middle of a disaster, it's going to be a very different trip, okay? So, I've had times where I helped the locals. I was there basically helping reporting on the news for the Sichuan earthquake in China in 2008. And I was asked to translate for 60 Minutes and a bunch of TV shows. So we went down there and it was awesome. We fucking was awesome. We actually, that news report we made got News Story of the Year in New Zealand for TV3. And it was a fantastic time for me. And it was one of these times where I wasn't there doing it. I flew right afterwards, but I got there. And they weren't letting anybody go there, but because I had a press pass, even though I wasn't press, I was helping the press, but the airplane was empty. You ever been on an empty, large airplane? I had never been on one. This is a huge airplane. I don't know what size it was. I don't know if it was Airbus or Boeing or whatever, but it was massive. And I was the only passenger. It was crazy. All the stewardesses were there. I could get whatever food I wanted. They said you can go in the first class. Don't worry about it. They said you can go sleep in first class. But I actually had all the seats the armchair rests up, and I was sleeping just perfectly in a cabin or whatever it's called, like economy. So I really didn't care because I had a perfect bed because nobody was there. I had a ton of blankets. The girls were all super sweet. I ate tons of food, and I had a nice sleep. And I went there, and that earthquake that affected me so much that trip, much more than I thought it would. Like for one thing, I'm pretty tough, and I've seen a lot of things, and I thought it was not going to affect me, but it really did affect me. Affected me a lot, actually, because just so many things. I don't want to tell too many stories because I'll get emotional. But for one thing, the smell of death, that got me. I really had never smelled death before. I had been there when people died, like accidents and stuff, but this was like, I think it was, how many people died? It was like 60,000 or something. Really large number. Basically whole villages. They can't count because whole villages were like concrete villages in these huge valleys. And what happened was they were made with substandard concrete and no rebar. So once they started to crack, the whole village started rumbling down like a huge avalanche, and the concrete busted up like in 9/11, where it all went down to the bottom of the mountain, and it just became like sand, and there was nothing. Like there was no computers, there was no human remains you could see, there was no cars, there was no there was basically nothing left. Like whole villages just became dust. It was because think how heavy concrete is. Coming down a mountain, a whole village, like I don't know what the weight is, but it's just insane, right? And it picks up speeds and it just broke everything to pieces. Like that where I was in Dujanyan, there was like, man, it was crazy. We were all over the place, and schools just collapsed where there was nothing. Like literally the whole school just collapsed with the kids inside because it was a school day. It was during the daytime, and the school the thing just collapsed. And I interviewed, or I had to translate interviews for the news, and the stories people told me were like so heartbreaking, and it was such a horrific disaster because of the corruption. It was because of the corruption. They were like the subcontractors and everything, too many subcontractors, and everybody stealing money. Eventually there was no rebar in the concrete. There was rebar in the police station and all the government buildings, but not in the people's buildings, right? So what happened when we figured this all out, we were there. It came out years later, tofu concrete and all this, but it was just corruption is what it was. And so, of course, once we found that out, which was after about 4 days, the police made us get out, and we couldn't report on it at the time. But they were very welcoming until then, because the Olympics were coming up, and China was putting on the best face. So it was really a fun time to be in China. The Olympics were great, and this earthquake was very, very heavy, man. I mean, I wouldn't say great because I don't want to use that word, but as far as, like, in the end, life is about experiences, right? And that experience was one of the most memorable of my entire life. The aftershocks, like we didn't know if our hotel was going to collapse because nobody knew because the earthquake was big, right? So it cracked all the concrete. So nobody knew how strong anything was. So the aftershocks were serious. Like, were they going to make our hotel crush us and kill us? Like, were we going to become part of the news story? We didn't know. We literally never knew. We didn't know if we were going to live or die the whole time. It was crazy, man. And my awareness of life was on fire, and the connections I made with the people I interviewed and with the people I worked with was just amazing. Like, it was such an amazing time. It really was. I'm very proud of what I did. I did a great job. Like the guy told me at the end, the main guy, You have these top news people back then. Now with the internet, not so much. But back then you had these guys. I don't want to say the names, but because we were filming a bunch of shows. We filmed for a bunch of different shows. These guys, because we were one of the only ones down there right after the earthquake. So we ended up doing shows for everybody. So yeah, I wasn't on, because I was the helper. I was the translator and helper. So I was only on a couple small ones. I was on Fox News and stuff. I was on Fox News a couple times. But other than that, I wasn't on any of the, it was just one of these reports where hey, we're down in Sichuan, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't an in-depth thing that they had. We made basically a documentary on it, right? And then there's another one that a French guy did. We met. He was one of the only ones there. And he made a great video called Tears of Sichuan, it's on YouTube. It's absolutely heartbreaking about that time. And it's good to watch, because now that you hear the stories of me, you'll be like, wow, fuck, Learn about the world, guys. Learn about the world. And when you learn about the world, and when you live your life for adventure, and when you live your life for real things, wanting real emotions and real feelings, you're going to have to go into situations that other people don't go. You just have to. You don't often mean to. It just happens, and then you go, right? So, I will say, anybody who has free time, can afford a ticket to Cebu, fucking go. I'm going to be there. The hardcore dudes are going to be there, and we're going to have a great time. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be no tourists. Flights are cheap now. Definitely cheaper. Definitely cheaper. You could probably get there half price now, what it was last week, to Cebu. And we're going to have a great time. We're probably going to, the girls are going to be way more friendly than usual. 100%. 100%. Girls in emergencies reach to men for emotional support. Okay, remember that. Next time you're in an earthquake or a fire, tsunami, something happens, something big happens. Any woman that you're with, it's you and her in this bubble that you don't know if you're going to live until tomorrow. That's the feeling. That is really what's going on. And it might actually be true, like it was with me. But it's also very true in a metaphorical sense, in the middle of a disaster. Lots of crazy things happen. And the women, they really want the stability of a man. This is what men have. Men have stability, okay? Don't lose your masculinity. Don't bail out at the last second on your masculinity. Even if it's a brutal summit, even if there is no electricity, which is obviously not going to happen. But even if there was, I fucking love it. I'm going. I'm 100% down. This is going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I like the Philippines. I like Filipinos. It's my first Southeast Asian country, because I went there in '89, and it was very exciting. I love the craziness. I saw some YouTube channel about a guy. He was such a pussy. He's saying, the hotel rooms are not up to the standards. They have not kept up with the standards in neighboring hotel rooms, in hand jobs and paint on the walls and quality of electric finishings and locks and they're not the same. It's not the same quality of water pressure in the shower, and the chair in your room. It might not be gold plated, And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was literally sometimes when I hear guys talking these days, sometimes young guys and sometimes older guys. It's often younger guys, but it can be older guys too. There's no doubt about it. I wonder, what has happened to the world? What has happened to men? We go to places. We're balls. And not only that, we help. Maybe we can do a fucking soup kitchen for people. Maybe we're going to go to the island of Bantayan, where one of the guys lives, which I heard was hit pretty hard by the tsunami. Maybe we'll be able to like arrange a soup kitchen and, do a fundraiser, make some food, serve food to some people on the island. Who knows, right? Who knows what we're going to get into? It won't be the normal. That I'll say. It's never the normal, okay, when you go into a place just after something, crazy happened. But I'll tell you, do you want normal? Is that your life goal? Is that what you want? Normal. Do you want the robotic life? The safe, do you want to live in a glass bubble? Protected? Or do you want to be a man who faces himself honestly? Who does the duties? Who does what a man is programmed in his DNA to do? Men are not just there for the good times. Men give a shit. Men help. And also too, women need men. No matter what they say when times are good. When times are bad, everything changes. I remember when 9/11 happened, there was a person in my life who's always been very cold to me and actually has sabotaged me in many, many times. But she was in Japan and she called me when the attack happened. And I was at home and there was basically no internet then. Nobody watched video. There was no videos, no YouTube. Not really. Nothing. It was just basically emails on fucking, dial up at the time. And she called me and she said, did you hear what happened? And I said, no, what happened? And she's like, turn on the TV. I'm like, what channel? She goes, any channel. And I was like, oh, fuck. Any channel? No way. So I turned on the Japanese TV that I had in my room. And sure enough, fucking right there was the fucking 9/11 going on. And, her husband was on a plane at the time from Japan to America. So she was terrified, of course. And she called me and we had this great conversation that we never had. Because basically in real life, she hates me. Okay. And then the next day she called me again and she said, and she can be real kind. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Okay, and she was like a kitten that day, and she said, "Hey, would you like to get together with me and the kids?" And I said, "Sure." No harm, no foul for me. If someone's nice, I take it. Right? I'm fine with it. Bygones. This is an important relationship in my life. Bygones. And I met her, and we went to a park, and I can't remember where it was, but I remember one thing. I was in a daze from 9/11. It just happened, and we found out her husband was safe by then. They had diverted the plane to Canada, and because the Japanese news report said 11 planes have crashed. That's what they said at the time. That was the news. Because in the middle of a disaster, you get all kinds of misinformation. Not on purpose, just like they just don't know what's going on yet, right? Just craziness. Nobody knows who, what, how would anybody know, right? One person wouldn't know. They only know what they saw, And so we were in the park, and then this is relevant because it's the moment of disaster. It's the breaking out of the matrix, which is essentially where I want to live my whole life. I want my whole life to be out of the matrix, mentally. I'm not talking about physically, mentally here. And we were all out of the matrix. The kids were totally different because they knew that mom was freaking out. And they didn't say anything. But that causes children to be very, very on edge. Because they'd never seen their mom freak out like that. And, they were all together. They heard the whole thing. And so we went to the park and we started playing dodgeball. And we just had such a great time. It was one of the best days in Tokyo. And I remember one weird thing is I threw the ball at the person that I was talking about. And when she moved, it was this weird, we've all got a different gait and a different thing. And I remembered, because I've known this person since childhood, and they made this move it's kind of an unathletic move that they always made as a child, but I had totally forgotten about it. But as they moved from the ball, or got hit, or I can't remember, but I was like, whoa, I remember that. I remember her moving like that. It's like brought back all these childhood memories. It was such an intense thing. And I think she saw me as a stable guy, as a rock. And I am a rock. I just am. It's just my nature. It is in my DNA, this one. I'm a rock. It's just the way I am always, I've never not been. I'm always a fucking rock. Maybe, there's probably drawbacks to that or something somewhere, but I am definitely a very stable guy in emergencies, okay? If we ever get an emergency, you will see this in action. And it's not something I can fake. It's not something I can create. It's not something I planned. It's literally in my DNA. Like, I can't take credit for it. It's just somewhere in there. Like, I'm just very stable. Like, I told my friends, I said, if I was on a boat going towards a waterfall, and I knew there was no way that I wouldn't die. I knew I was going to die in seconds. I would be laughing and having a good time because I realized, like, I know myself. I'd be like, oops, this is it. Here's my last seconds, right? This is it. I may as well fucking enjoy myself. If I had time, I might even jump in the water, because why not, right? One last swim, right? And who knows, maybe I can outswim it, I'm a fucking pretty good swimmer. I never thought of that. I thought I had to be on the boat every time I thought of that scenario. Yeah, fuck no, I wouldn't do that. Because I would outswim the fucking river somehow. Yeah, oh yeah. So bad example, but you get the idea. Is hey, like at the end of the day, I can accept things and not freak out. Just accept life is what it is. People are what they are. The time is what it is. And we have what we have. And then we make the best of what we have. I think that's, in the bottom line, that's what our job is as men, is make the most of what we have. What God gave you, that's what you got. You want to make the most of it. That's it. Even your undeveloped talents. You want to bring those. You want to fucking develop those things that you don't even know you have. That's what I'm trying to say, which is a very big deal. Because that's more than just doing the best with what you think you have. There's a lot of things that you don't know that you could develop, right? That's part of why people come to a lot of summits and why people, like, we're together and doing things, because we're like, okay, I had some good stuff, but maybe I can take on some characteristics of other guys that are kicking ass, and I can actually become, essentially, from the outside, an entirely different person that I didn't even know I could become. And then you start looking at it and you realize that someone told you couldn't or whatever, you brainwashed. There's things, there's layers to these things. But that's what it's all about. So, I say the typhoon is there and apparently there's another one on the way. I say, either get your ticket today when it's going to be cheap or wait till the next one goes. Maybe it'll be even cheaper, right? Who knows, right? But get a flight and let's go see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. The girls are going to need rocks, and you're there and possible to give it to them. You might be able to give real help to people. I say that half in jest. You might be able to save someone's life. You might be able to give someone hope. You might be able to feed somebody. You might just see a glimpse of real life. Because one thing about the Philippines is it's real life a lot more than it is in America. Like in general, that's like a general rule about the Philippines. So maybe because there's more danger, maybe because there's more it's more less developed. You see death in the Philippines. You don't see it in America, and so maybe the nature of modern society is to protect you from real life, and Philippines has less of that. But when a real disaster happens, even Filipinos, like it's gonna be interesting, And people often ask me, why did you come now? Then this has happened many times, and I'm like, I went to New York like 2 days after 9/11. As soon as I could get a flight, I flew to New York. And I went and I wandered around and talked to people. I mean, when you go somewhere, I wasn't, what do you call it, a disaster tourist? Because a lot of people came after that to talk shit. I actually came and I was worried about the country. I mean, I was thinking about joining the military. I was like all in. I had a company. I had employees. I was paying salaries. I mean, it was not a convenient time to go. But when New York was in need, I went. And I thought, well, maybe I can help. Maybe I can figure something out. Maybe I can help somebody. And that was one of my great trips. That was my second time in New York. So I had gone before and I had seen the Twin Towers. And then I came back and they're gone. And it's a smoldering mess when I got there. And I count that trip. These trips after these things, they're not always the trip that you might have had. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Margaritaville. It's not, what do you call it? What's that guy? The guy who did Margaritaville song. But, it's not that. It's something else. And I'm telling you, it's something that you're missing as a man. The West, you just don't have it very often. It's very rare. It takes like 9/11 or something for you to see people break through the shell of zombie brainwashing, meaningless, rote behavior. And breaking out. Maybe that's what this whole thing's about. I hadn't even thought about this. But maybe the whole concept of the red pill, all that, is like breaking out. Maybe this is exactly, you're looking for moments in time when the software of the matrix is down and you can see. That's really what we're talking about here. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that.